soon? It's Claudia.
Hey,
Oh,
what?
I gotta leave the one on. Call meeting to order.
Commissioner Staton?
Here.
Commissioner Meeks?
Here.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Here.
Commissioner Mayo?
Here.
Commissioner Wood?
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or deletions, changes to the agenda?
No.
Public comments, correspondence?
Eric Patterson, 940 Foster Street. I just popped in to commend Jeff and the entire team on Sizzle Into Summer. It was the first time there was a cohesion between the village and the park district. There were signs everywhere, all over town. I promoted it very, very, very hard. And a lot of people commented on the signs particularly that were in place where the Morton days signs usually are. I think more can be done as far as brochures. I know the posters were everywhere. They were in the display cases, but I think it's a very positive step. On the old business note, everybody knows what happened on March 22nd. I just want to let you know, last week I was downtown in the Leo Burnett building talking to some people. Tomorrow I'll be downtown talking to some other people on Michigan Avenue in reference to what had happened. I have 2 envelopes in my possession, they have not been opened, and I'm going to again ask Commissioner Stackman to resign. If not, we'll see what happens. And I'll just leave you with that. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Consent agenda.
I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole on May 3rd, 2017, the board meeting held on May 17th, 2017, and the financial reports, which include the budget report and cash on hand dated May 31st, 2017, and the voucher list dated June 21st, 2017, in the amount of $110,447.93, subject to audit.
Any discussion? Take the vote.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman?
Aye.
Commissioner Mayo?
Aye. Moving on to director's report.
Yeah, I too just want to commend staff on a really good event on Saturday, Sizzle Into Summer. Despite the unpredictable weather, we still had a lot more people than we had the previous year, which had its weather challenges as well, with 96-degree weather. So we went from a little bit of extremes, but it seemed to be very positive. People seem to be having a lot of fun. So right now, staff is preparing some evaluations, just going through them themselves, discussing what we can do to improve it, what kind of changes, if anything, that are made, as well as just finalizing the financials, and we'll be providing that to the board. I just wanted to remind everybody about special events. We do have tunes on Tuesday here at Park at the north end of the park. Last night was the Divas, but every night they tried a little bit of a different theme. And we have local vendors with food. Last night was charcoal flame, which was really nice. This Friday we have a movie in the park, and that is here. Yeah, here. And then occasionally throughout the summer we will have celebrations in the park where we just bring out some games, have some entertainment, have ice cream. It goes from place to place, so I would encourage people to go onto our website at mortonroadparks.com, and there's a little tab that says things to do, and you can find the fun things that we have going on this summer.
Attorney's report.
None.
Unfinished business, administration and finance.
Yes, I have 4 things tonight. The first is the prevailing wage ordinance number O-04-17. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the 2017 prevailing wage ordinance number 004-17.
I'll second.
Any discussion? This is all basically just bylaw or
Manual.
form. Take the roll.
Commissioner Smith? Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I have the post-issuance tax compliance report resolution number R-06-17. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the post-issuance tax compliance report resolution R-06-17.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Okay.
Forget one.
Commissioner Schmidt?
I didn't forget you.
Next, I have the Commissioner use of facilities and programs. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve ordinance O-05-17 to update the Board Services Section 4.15 of the Board of Commissioners General Practices Manual.
Any discussion?
I'll second.
I just want to state that we did in section 2 make those corrections, changes, so that it reflects the discussion. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Paul, I believe second. Second.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt? Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Okay, and last I have the Park District and Village of Morton Grove MOU. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the memo of understanding between the Park District and the Village covering the Morton Grove Days event.
Any discussion?
I'll second.
Did everybody get a chance to read it? Because Jeff and I,
Same as it's been every year.
well, we made changes
Yeah.
and the village agreed, so it's not really the same.
Many changes made.
Yeah, there was, everything was fine. There was one little change that we did that was inconsistent with what we have always done in the past. So we took that out, that is, everything else would be pretty much the same as we've done every year. But I want to stress that this memo of understanding is extremely important for us to make sure that we reduce our risk and liability exposure to this event. In the past, Morton Grove Days was always under the umbrella of the Park District, so of course it was always covered under there. So once the Park District stopped having it under its umbrella, and now it's over into the village, it's great that we have, this identification as it relates to the parking lot, but, to having a formal, it's, any kind, I would prefer it to be a bigger document or the one that we had originally planned, but, after talking to our attorney, based on what the village would like for us to do, this is a sort of a compromise for us. So as long as we have something that's down on paper that is signed off by both entities, we're okay with it.
And then, did we decide what month we were gonna start talking about other document changes in the document?
Well, I think this is the document that we're going to go with, but as far as some of the other things that we would like, one of those is that the village would prefer that we not have to do this every year. And I agree, but we do need to put something in here that says that it's either for a period of time or it's an automatic renewal with some kind of notification beforehand about getting, making changes to that. So, that would be what we would have to kind of work out.
If the original draft was in February, I believe, right? you'd sent out?
Yeah, so the village administrator and I spoke probably in December, January, just about various topics, and one of the things that I had brought up was, and we had talked about it at some point too, saying that we needed to have an intergovernmental agreement with this. And it was February, I just went to our attorney and asked him to draft it up to him and send it out, from there, sent it to the village, and that started the process.
I just think, the only thing I'm gonna comment is I think it's very important that we are a community, we need to work with the schools, we need to work with the village. I'm sure things can get hammered out, but that's,
Yeah, no, we will work with the village, we work, because that's what we strive to be, but there's certain
Make sure we
things-
have enough time to deal with it.
Yeah,
Not the last minute, right?
yeah, right, and that's where we're down right now, is having, as long as we've got this in place, we can work on other changes if necessary. At a later time.
Because this community event started in 1921. It hasn't gone, continuously, there was breaks in it, and I believe you, Dan, were instrumental in bringing it back in the 85?
No, 80, started in 88.
88? Okay.
And,
Because it was ended for a while, but I mean, it's a great event, people come back to Morton Grove that grew up here.
No,
There's
I
not many
agree.
communities that can say they have had an event that's going this long.
But we need documentation, we need cooperation, we need to know where we're at and where we're not at.
Yeah, the park district is for this event, no doubt, and, we are cooperating. It's just the way things have been done have changed, and especially with our insurance department. They were kind of on us on certain issues, and, so, we're all for it.
Yeah.
Just covering our bases and making sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. That's it. Okay,
That's all I have.
Commissioner Stamen?
Aye.
Commissioner Biggs?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mann?
aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Okay. And Recreation and Facility Program Committee? Nothing, right? Park and Facilities Maintenance.
Okay, I have the electronic message board. I don't see the number. Is there a number for resolution number?
No, it's just
We just moved to approve that.
Yeah.
Okay, then I move to approve that.
You can read it.
yeah, you have that, the green page? Sorry.
I move to accept the recommendation of the Park and the Facility Committee to approve the purchase of a new electronic message board from Vernon and Matts, Inc. of Morton, Illinois, in the amount of $23,795.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, okay.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner Mann?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Stamen?
Aye.
Community survey, that's parks, is that parks and facilities?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do was have a discussion first, and then decide if we want to, if we need more time, we can table the motion, or you can approve it. It all depends on where we're kind of net out with the discussion.
Yes.
And then we will have a closed session.
Who wants to make that motion?
Pardon?
Community survey.
You want to do that next?
No, we wanted to have the discussion first. And if, depending on what we decide on, we could either, table the survey, or you can approve it. It all depends on where we're comfortable with the discussion.
My feeling at the moment is, more and more thinking about it, in a couple of conversations, I think we should hold off until we get the report on HAR, and we kind of kick around our own ideas and thoughts about the property itself.
Okay.
And if we move forward, I know it's a delay, but I think it's in the best interest of the park district and the community to kind of get everything in a row first, so that we can go out with the right questions and ask the right things at the right time. So, how everybody else feels.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. That is the one company that kind of staff liked and got back to us too, by the way, right?
Yeah, this is so we sent out 7 proposals, we got 3 back, we did sort of a blind review that's taking out the fee page and just rating the proposals based on what we thought was the RFP and the submission, as well as it matched as what, and just the contents, to make sure that we felt that the individual company that we selected is best suited to achieve what we were looking for. And liquidity research was all 3 of us selected that one.
So I think we found the company, we just need to get our ducks in a row before we, turn them loose and get them going.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to meet with staff. They're going to probably want to meet with some commissioners so that they can design a survey that kind of meets our needs. So we had wanted to put it out in the summer months when people are kind of using the facility and such, but for us to postpone it wouldn't be that big of an issue. So.
I move to table the community survey.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Well,
Commissioner Stapleton?
Aye.
Commissioner Meeks?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt? Aye. Commissioner Nano?
aye.
Commissioner Coyle?
Any new business?
No, so that's the new business. We're gonna discuss carpool. It's an open discussion, which is great. So we just need to sort of set the discussion. So, we have carpool and hard park. July 19th, we'll get the final report for the systems, gives you an idea of the condition that the pool is in. We need to know before we go out for the surveys, like what does the board want? And Dan, you probably could explain it a little better because you suggested having this discussion. If we can come up with consensus from the board, so that we have an idea as to what you guys would like to see for it, because we want to make sure that if we go out with the survey, that we are able to, do what the community wants. Is that
My
fairly
concern
decent?
with the survey is not to be premature on asking questions or setting in motion of the direction to go in before the park district knows what they, thinks they should do. We have basically 3 fairly new park commissioners here that really don't know all the ins and outs, what's going on with the pool, So we're waiting for that report to see what can be done. Can we stall this off for a year? Is it something maybe we can spend $50,000 to keep it going? That's one issue. Also, is there a discussion I think discussion should be had as to, does this park district community really need 2 pools? What are our real aquatic needs of this community? Right now, we're saddled with the debt and the way it was financed from the last pool, so we're kind of hamstringed on what we can do. We would have to go to a referendum, I believe, right, Martin, no matter what happens. And if that's the case, if we're going to ask, should we be having a broader long-term vision of what the community really wants? Now, I read that comprehensive overview that they paid for back in 2012, was it, Martin? 13 was when they got it back. And there was an awful lot of comments, and did you guys get a chance to go through that?
I read some of it.
It's pretty thick. I mean, it was on the web. It takes a long time to digest it. But there was a lot of comments about indoor pool.
Right.
and where is aquatics going? Because we're faced with changing times with the way the school system works, of getting lifeguards even to maintain the pools we have. And it's, a period of time where there's a payback, or it makes it feasible even to do it. An indoor pool year-round, and I know that hospitals now are looking for people to run their aquatic therapy classes. Is that a possibility as a revenue? I mean, all these are factors. I don't know if we're going to be able to digest those and set them in motion in 3 months. I just don't know.
You're referencing the strategic plan that's just done.
Not the strategic plan, but they paid for a comprehensive overview where they actually had engineers and studies done on all the facilities and what was needed, and they had interaction groups with residents, staff. And unfortunately, Park District went ahead and made a commitment, started construction on that second Oriole pool before that report was even done. So it's kind of conflicting for what it says. I just don't think that you're doing justice to the community by prematurely going out there for this board really has a handle on understanding the wants and needs, and if it's feasible for us to financially do this.
So yeah, you're right. The only way to be able to do this is through a referendum. We don't have any other authority to do that now. And additionally, you have also suggested not only would there be a need for a referendum for the construction, but we would probably have to have a rate increase as well, depending on whatever you decide that you want to do.
And if we were to go into that direction, I mean, I've been to enough referendum seminars at the conferences, IAPD and the national conferences over the years, there's books written on it now. If we go in that direction, it's very advantageous to the Park District to get a citizens committee together to support that and understand what's going on. And that certainly couldn't all be done in 30 days. But I wouldn't even be so much as to ask this board to have even broader, longer-term vision to look at which direction the Park District is going, what's the long-term financial obligations we're going to have, cost of operations. We know that our most expensive expense is employees. The second is maintenance in these buildings. Prairie View now is 40-some years old, and the building never had very good flow to it from day one. As we all know, it was built for ice rinks and converted, and it's been remodeled once. Would it be advantageous to this Park District to look at building, and this is pretty far reaching, but it's just on the table, just so it's on the table, possibly building a new administration center, a new recreational center, something where the building is more modular. From what I've seen over the years, recreational space is, depending on the programs are ever changing, you need 500 square feet to 1,000 square feet at times, or 2,000 square feet, depending on what it is. And we don't have that capacity right now to change those things. Our building is pretty fixed over there.
Isn't there talk about doing something like that with the village together?
Well, I would certainly entertain talking to the village. I know that they talked about, the need for sufficient size debt building. That's a 120-year-old school building that's been remodeled, and so anything that you can do to consolidate government, or I should say consolidate and make it more efficient, cost effective. I mean, this would be really in depth. You would need a really large committee to look at overlapping. Maybe we could share IT people. Maybe we could share some, not secretarial, but counter people. I mean, if we built a new building, we certainly would want to drive through so people could pay without people coming to the building. All of those factors. It's being done in other communities across the country. Of course, Illinois is really unique because it's one of two states that have separate park districts, plus South Dakota,
California.
California too now. All right, so there's a lot here, but this board really got to digest it and then decide. But again, you need to get a citizens committee. And if that's a direction that the park district really would like to see us go into, to investigate how we could, you need a citizens committee, and I would strongly recommend too, be voted on by the board, whichever way it comes up, whichever decision's made, that both village administrator, the park director sit on that, and that one commissioner sit on it, one trustee, but then for the benefit of success, you want a non-political, non-elected person to be the chairperson, who's totally impartial, and they're out there. I don't know who that person is, just a chair. But we would need all that input.
Just, and I think for clarification, that's something that's driven by residents. I mean, the park district will have no hand in that, because then it's going to look like we're.
Well, you have to have a hand in it so much as supplying information.
That
the raw
exactly.
data, the raw data that is needed, the fact finding, and we also have to get an appropriation from the board into the budget for it because there would be certain costs.
I'm pretty confident we can't do that.
No?
No, we can't use public funds to lobby for certain things for the park district. Is that pretty consistent?
You're allowed to spend a certain amount of money for referendum promotion.
That you can do,
But if you're talking about a fact-finding committee, why would you have a difficulty with the fact-finding committee?
Again, I think it looks like we're trying to not manipulate, but we're trying to steer something using public funds. But, I mean, I'll have to talk to Jim Rock about that, just to make sure that, whatever that we decide to do, that we are above board on that. So, I think, discussion, that's obviously, we talk to park districts, everyone has had something. So, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we have talked to the village would be interested, it just kind of depends on sort of the scope of the project. Talk to District 7, we did 7 years interested in the job. Again, it all depends on, the scope of the project. So, what you decide to do. The plan, it's just an indoor pool. But, just still, you gotta have, Prairie View is pushing its age, and, it's very restricted. We have really, only a handful of rooms that we can use program. So we want to do, group exercise programs with these, dates, or preschool. So there's a lot of need for a lot of opportunities to do more programming. It's just that we're
And the efficiency of operating that building.
Yes.
As far as I can recall, as far back as I know, the cost of utilities and maintenance on that building, even with recreational, programs, has never paid for itself. Yeah.
It's all so it's electric utilities are electric bills are high.
We've gotten more efficient with changing lighting and some of the rooftop units.
And renting
Technology.
the main aisles and those things.
Right.
But this would be something that wouldn't be built in a year, wouldn't be built in 2 years. You're probably looking at 5 years or 4 years down the road before anything like this could even be started. But again, if you go ahead and spend $4 million to build a new pool or repair that pool, you're going to block any opportunity for future use of coming together with a building or a facility. Because you've already invested in there. I don't know what anybody else. It has to be well thought out.
Right, so we're trying to look for a project, lack of a better word, that is going to meet the most needs for everyone. So not only, if it was decided that an indoor pool is something that we want, then, you know, there's gotta be a structure around it, how much bigger do you want that structure, and what you want to do. So, yeah, I think that's, you know, it's a great discussion to have.
Because what you'd be talking about doing is actually talking about a true community center and a focal point for the town. Which is something we have lost or never had, actually. You know, the focal point at one time was the train station in that area. We haven't had that since the 40s.
Civic Center, has Civic Center ever been that focal point?
It was a focal point when it was the Legion Hall for a number of years to a point, but it never was the whole community. I mean, I've been to some of these communities, I'm sure you would have, and other people have. The senior facility is there, they even have a library facility in there, you know, where it's truly, you can go there
For all the service.
yeah, you can pay water bill, you can this, and you can go to the library while your kid's in swim class or vice versa, or, you know,
Right.
it's,
All inclusive.
Right.
Community center.
it's a community
Town
center.
center.
It's a town center, it's a community center. You know, and that's something that everybody wants to look at. I see no point in talking about doing a survey until we kind of get a focus point of which way we want to,
Sure,
you know.
right.
But this would be something you would really have to open your eyes to long-term vision.
And more efficient, save on money, therefore the taxpayers save.
Well, but in reality, the reality is, it's gonna cost the taxpayers more money initially up front.
Correct.
Okay? But you're gonna, do they really want this? Because I've heard over the years, they want this, they want that, they wanted a library, they wanted this, they want that, you know, are they all willing to pay for it? You know, I think people would be more apt to pay for it if everybody was on board, the village, you know, and everybody, you know.
Right.
I mean, but you're looking at needing, I would say minimum 3 acres to do that,
Yeah,
wouldn't you think? 5 would be great, but there's no 5-acre spot open.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure, that seems pretty big. I mean,
Well, I'm talking about putting village hall in there. You're
yeah,
talking about an indoor pool. And you're talking about modular recreation space and village administration, park administration.
mhm,
Okay, and if you would be talking about anything with the library, even if it was a reading room or a satellite, you know, with your parking facility, you need parking.
right, I mean, if you're gonna do it here, I mean,
Well, if you're doing it here, I mean, I think, I don't know, there might be enough
I
room.
mean, you can go to the street, but, you know, how far
But
out?
you can't go back any further unless you jeopardize the ball diamonds and the
Right.
soccer fields,
Right,
you know.
So again, it would depend on design, you can go down and go
Right,
up.
you can go up, and you can have a multi-level parking garage, you can do a lot of things. I mean, you also could entertain the notion, just on the table for discussion, I'm not advocating it, but you incorporate the village land and the parkland in this.
yeah,
Yeah, you have the land of the civic center too. Their debt bill is inefficient and they know that and just have said that, so I mean, again, I think it's a win-win for everybody, but we gotta, you know,
Good for opportunity.
yeah.
everybody come together and get on board with it.
Yeah, I just, I know that you've said it, but I just want to reiterate this, is like, this is just a discussion.
This is just a discussion.
Nothing's been decided on, we're still looking for input from, you know, school, village, residents, everything. So I just want to make it very, very clear, because, you know, this is, you know, it's an open meeting, that, you know, let's just make sure that, you know, calm heads prevail, and just look, we're just having a discussion about possibilities. Yeah, yeah, I mean, what we're talking about sounds great. just trying to figure out, how to move that ball down the field kind of thing might be a little bit, I haven't kind of worked it out. for
This
everybody.
was,
It's
this
gonna
basically
take-
was, this was talked about back in 1974, 75. You remember, Pete? Do you remember that, Paul? When they bought the property up on Dempsey Street, and they were going to move the police station on the hard part, and they were going to do this, and they were going to do that, and there was a lot of support for a lot of these ideas, but part of the problem, I think, was that the village, the park, and some residents just couldn't all get together and accept the fact that, let's do this together, and which you may have this problem again, I don't know. But I think it's worth a try. It's justifiable to put it on the table for discussion.
Right.
Sounds more possible now.
I don't know. I don't know.
I believe in 2005, that discussion was opened up too, about the village and park district getting together in one building.
Yeah, I know that Ralph and Jeff had walked
I believe
the
it was, yes.
property and had that discussion, but, yeah.
They were talking about doing it at Prairie View.
Right. Now, that building, if I remember right, is substantially constructed for another floor.
Yeah, that's what,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, but is that, the parking limitations there,
Figure we make that space, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we cut into,
I mean, I think that building totally would almost be gutted, or it'd be advantageous to tear half of it down. I think the only building space that you could,
Jim?
the gym would be about the only big space that you could relatively use.
right, right.
But we all know by national standards, and studies done around the country, and studies done here, that this community, by raw data, can support and should not support these swimming pools.
Right.
That's just a fact,
Yeah,
and it's a luxury to have too.
it is, it is.
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, Paul and I went to boot camp, and sat at a table with, I believe it was Huntley, and they have population of 30,000, they have one pool.
Yeah, but it's a relatively newly built up area in the last 30 years, so they're right, they got one pool probably centrally located,
Probably big enough too.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, if you go back to the aquatics meeting and the gentleman that, well, that's one standard, which is kind of interesting because coming up in July, we're talking about standards. But yeah, we use Park and Recreation Association's standards because we're Park and Recreation, so we should be using, that as our standard. And it clearly states that, a community of 24,000 should have one pool. But we have, that issue of, there's a lot of emotional attachment to our pool.
Yes.
And, that is something that I think that we need
There's
to,
also the issue of the geographic location, because there's no through street other than Dempster Street.
crossing
Or
Waukegan and.
Gulf Road, the main thoroughfares, it's not an easy bike ride. I mean,
Right.
kids can't ride their bike easily, safely down to Oriole or vice versa.
How many people can Oriole support?
It has excuse me,
Stand-alone.
Oriole 500. 500. R 571.
But I'm talking about, if you look at,
Okay.
what's the total population of Morton Grove? Is it 30,000?
20.
24, 25?
23 and rising.
Yeah, I would think 1.3.
So one pool for 30,000 people, I'm just trying to figure out, Oriole can't support.
No.
Yeah,
So-
but you
so-
have non-swimmers, you have seniors, you have infants, you have people that don't like to swim, so, yeah, obviously, not
No, I get
everybody's
that.
gonna go
What I'm
on
saying
one
is
day.
that, let's say
So-
we decide to scrap hard, right? It's not that we're gonna build a whole new indoor pool, then what happens to the Oriole pool?
Stays there.
Yeah, we
So
operate
you
it,
still have two pools.
we still have two pools. But if we have two pools,
Just making
if you decide to build an indoor pool, again, we would have to have a rate increase because, we lose 137 on average for the last, 8 years, 9 years, even probably even a little bit more on average.
Is that across the board, do all pools lose money? I mean, no matter where it is pretty much, I mean, they all just,
The vast majority of outdoor pools typically lose money.
Shorter season all the time because the lifeguards go back to school.
Well, that's, and partially,
And they're decided to keep the pools today. Years ago they didn't. So there's a lot of patterns.
right. But, pools like Oriole, they're not going to, they're gonna lose more so than some of like, a pool that's more of a farm facility. Maybe you're that sort of thing where it's more of a maintenance business. So, and then when you open capital, that's when you start to see a big deficit. But we don't, we separate those out. We still have
is there anything done with the pool, sell it, scrap it, something? Like it's kind of. I'm saying if there's a way to get money, I mean.
Well, I don't think it's feasible because there's.
Yeah, I don't.
Because of the public relations, people over there feel, traditionally speaking, over the years, they felt somewhat left out of the village because they're from the other side of town. So, and I can understand that because there's a disconnect because there's no notice really other than that.
I get that. I mean, I grew up in that pool. I was on the swim team in that pool. I just think the new design is just so poor. I'm just being honest. I mean, it's just too crowded. There's not a lot of room to be able to really swim. And I was just asking if there's anything to be done.
Well,
So we can
you should have seen it before we reduced the swim lap lanes from 4 to 2. Yeah, we have a pool. We have 2 pools. No matter what we say,
sure
we
that-
have at least 1 pool for the next, at least 21 years.
And I would think even if we did something, you'd still have to have somewhat of a seasonal outdoor splash pool over here.
Well, I
Okay,
mean,
so,
if you
yeah.
did something, a lot of places are going to spray grounds. No standing water, they just,
Misting machines.
yeah, misting machine. But you're right, you look at Buffalo Grove, they've got one big
Just a parking lot with misting
Uh,
machines.
spray ground area. Deerfield has an area where it's part of the pool, but they can close it off, so like on the collar of the season, you can still use the spray tank. City, I think, I'm trying to remember now where I saw it at. I know Chicago, some of their parks just have sprayers, anything to keep kids cool and entertain.
Fire hydrants.
And stuff like that. Fire hydrants, right? So, I mean,
So there's too much of a connection, I mean, to
Oh,
I mean,
So
part of,
you're not in your lifetime going to be able to close down that facility. You will always have something over there.
okay, fair enough. I was just trying to think of the best way.
It's a matter of,
to be-
now it's a matter that if future boards are going to be more realistic in their,
right,
to provide for the public, rather than.
in a lot of ways, our
I
lasted,
hope they will be.
our lasted 54 years. So,
Way beyond its lifespan.
I know, so you're like,
I don't want to be
3
a horse. I was
seasons.
just trying to think of the best way to build the best facility, obviously what was good for, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can
No
do.
worries.
We want to, train of thought is to build a recreational facility that's fit the needs of the people, but also generate enough revenue so it's not painful.
Yep.
And
Right.
right
Well, I know
now,
what you're talking about, like these hospitals with their life centers, where they have the huge gyms and pools. I mean, they're building them. I was just talking to somebody like that the other day. Who wants to build these.
well, IBJ closed theirs down, and they're looking for someplace to send their patients.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
mean, those are the kinds of places, that's Lifetime Fitness, that's, That's the concept of everything, one central location.
But the recreational needs we're seeing are changing in our community. And with the demographics, they're changing. And it's, you know, it's really our responsibility to be able to meet that change and prepare for it. You know, and honestly, at this point in time, I don't think dumping $4 million even into a pool half that size here is gonna really,
I don't think so.
it's gonna meet those needs in the future. I mean, who knows, pools may become passe. I don't know. I remember the skate parks were all rich.
Yes,
Yep.
everybody was building
Right.
left and right, now they're just monuments.
Right.
Concrete.
So, that's the only reason I wanted to have this open discussion, put it on the table. And I know it's a lot to digest. So that's why I suggested we have it over here, so we could go over there and walk around and see it, look.
I think it's good food for thought. I'm glad we had it, for sure.
And then our next steps,
Well-
we have to kind of figure that out, you know, what our next step is after this meeting.
Well, I think that you need to get a consensus from everybody on the board here, or if anybody's got anything else to add or say, you can say it now, and then get a consensus, and can't vote on it, you just get a consensus.
Jeff?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think we really kind of, you know, put a pinpoint on here saying this is what we want to do. So I think just further discussions to kind of air it out. I know, you know, Paul and Steve and Keith, probably this is the first time they've had an opportunity to kind of think about this. So, you know, maybe just giving them an opportunity to, you know, ponder on it, you know, for some period of time, you know, maybe, you know, reach out to people that they know that just kind of, hey, you know, just, you know, big picture, pie in the sky kind of thing, what do you think we should do with that? I mean, I think that has, you know, some value. I know that part of what the survey was supposed to do is like, okay, you know, in addition to a pool, you know, what do you want and how much do you want to spend to get it? So, but there's a common place for that, and I think we're not there yet.
Maybe we are yet.
No. So,
Because as soon as you put the survey out, there's gonna be people asking questions. And, you know, I mean,
Some of them can't answer,
we
right?
can't answer, and if we don't want to give any, we'll get back to you or any inaccurate information and set the ball rolling in the wrong direction or in any direction.
right,
The decision should be based strictly on the facts.
right.
And some of my decision would be kind of further along once we get the report back from, you know, the analysis and kind of figure out where we're at, what that life expectancy that's left is. We're still losing more.
When can we take a look at it?
Oh, yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
We're done?
Well, yeah, just to let you know, that draft report, July 19th, there's going to be a, you know, presentation from the architect, the engineer, Bob Quill, who was the consultant on the project. So,
I think that'll tell us a lot. Which is what-
yeah,
If I may make a suggestion on changing the agenda here, maybe we should, comments go into executive session when we reconvene, maybe take a visual tour.
Sure.
Just to expedite the meeting.
Yes.
What do you want to do?
so what we'll do is if you go based on the agenda, we'll do commissioners' comments, then we'll go into closed session, come out of closed session, and then take the tour, come back, close the meeting, and go home for the evening.
Okay.
Is that,
Sounds good.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. So,
Unfinished business too, that was the community survey.
right, we're tabling that, right, so we're on 11.
Okay, Commissioner comments, Commissioner Stacken?
In case anybody didn't hear, you know that Jim Don passed away. A little history with Jimmy, grew up in town, played a lot of sports here. He actually was the guy in the middle of the night freezing the ice skating spots for years. For free. They didn't pay him. And
You just loved it so much.
Well, it was just community spirit that goes out of that. I forgot who he said would help him do it, but they would just come out and freeze those fields every night for fresh ice every day in the winter. So, it's great.
No, I'm sorry, was he part of Public Works?
Yes.
Okay, because I just, that's interesting, because I just saw like something in the,
Yeah.
he got an award for something.
Yeah, it was probably Bush right
Yeah.
I saw that there was donations to the Cancer Society to give cancer, or
Mhm.
Yeah,
does
yeah.
anybody else know?
Just found out in the end of April.
A lot was fast.
Thank God.
And his daughter works for us.
Yeah, Carrie works for the park.
Oh, right. Forgot her last name. It's called Karen.
Anything else? Yeah, Commissioner White?
I attended, it was a late arrival to this isn't the summer, but it was great. It was nice seeing everybody, we had people cooking, and we had, all the staff was there.
Yeah, Laura was cooking. Claudia, we're not really sure. No, she was selling tickets, doing a fabulous job. I'm kidding. Keith was, we were all there.
Talk about a team effort, it was really good, and great to see that. The other thing is I wanted to give some special thanks to our sponsors for all our summer activities, like Bank and some of the restaurants that are sponsoring some of these summer activities. I've heard a lot of positive things. Also, I want to say thanks to the Notre Dame College Prep for their assistance on the community service project that Geo led us to tree more trees, which is nice. That's about it.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yep. I went to a party in the park, and I thought it was great. Took my son there. The ice cream was great. So it was my first time. The other thing I was going to say is that I went last night to the concert over here at the North End, and the band was interesting.
The Divas.
I think that they're, coming from a musical standpoint, I was just wondering who picks the entertainment?
That would be Katie. Katie is in charge of that. I believe she goes to a.
Yeah, normally it's Katie. She normally goes,
Oh, that's
Berkeley
right.
Park and Rec Association does a showcase. So she
Yeah.
can go in and see, but Katie was on her maternity leave.
I
We were
think,
proud this year, so it was kind of a team.
I was just gonna say, I think maybe next year, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I'd like to get more involved in that aspect, because I think, those are the bands. I have to see the rest of the bands, but I think there are some better ways to do it, that I think you can get more people out, and themes and things like that. And, I think I have a lot of experience in that.
Yeah, no, we try to mix it up with the genre. So, it's just trying to find somebody that will come out on Tuesday night.
Yeah, no, I think
So-
I think I can help with
I know
that.
we do the showcase. In the past I've used Bash Schuler, that tends to do really well. So
I know that, sure.
it's like any suggestions, just let us know. That'd be great.
Yeah, well,
One concert in the park's going to be the same night as that
It's a
plastic
car show, which is a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. Yes.
How much did everybody got?
It's really
car show's on Sunday, right?
Thursday.
Thursday.
I believe it's July 20th.
My birthday. I'll bring the big car.
Anything else? Commissioner Reeves?
I just want to, I attended Sizzle in the summer, and I want to thank the staff. I thought it was a great night. I think the people that attended it looked like they were enjoying themselves. I think if we didn't have the rain, it would have probably been a little more attended. And I just want to thank you, Jeff, and your staff. I thought they did a wonderful job, and I think everybody had a great time.
Yeah, I gotta say that Kari Redmond, who was really the point on that, did a fantastic job of just organizing and preparing for that, and making sure that staff was doing what they were assigned to do. So
We
she did
had
a
one
great
little
job.
glitch with the generator.
Right.
That's okay.
Jeff was out there in the pouring rain. so-
Yes, he was.
That's
right.
My shoe all tables around.
I like to move around.
Generator's great.
Not sure. What's wrong with
Just be more polished.
All and probably, it probably was a design.
It broke.
Yeah, really did.
All right.
Staff is just phenomenal and getting better and better each event and working better as a team. So we're getting there. That's all I have. Executive session. Need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion for the board to go into closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, section 120-2, C1 for the second, and for section 122, C11.